So this is what it's like to feel. What does that even mean? Well, stick around. We're going to talk about it. So, Wade Baldwin here, bringing you another video, and I wanted to talk about feelings from my perspective and share a little bit. If you haven't seen my other video about some of my story, I'll put a link in the description so you can check that out. Please like and subscribe. Um, just trying to share my experiences in hopes that uh, anyone out there can try learn from anything I have to share and hopefully avoid a lot of the mistakes I've made. Um, but anyway, regarding feelings, so this is what it's like to feel. Well, so quick uh, background. Um, I've suffered from addiction all my life, food, video games, and then I discovered alcohol, and then wow, talk about a way to manage improperly, excuse me, talk about an improper way to manage your emotions. So, uh, when I basically make a long story short, when I was happy and wanted to celebrate, I would drink. When I was sad, depressed, lonely, I would drink. Got to the point where every day was a drink, and just to survive what I thought was surviving. I mean, I guess I did survive, but um, so bringing it back to the point. So this is what it's like to feel. So with that background, got sober, uh, and it's been a little bit over 3 years, and so I guess a little bit too. Back in 2015, the end of and the beginning of 2016, I lost within a uh, about a 3 month time frame both my mother and my grandmother, who were two of my most amazingly favorite people in the world. Sent me on a tailspin because I wasn't able to manage my emotions whatsoever without drugs or alcohol, and so uh, that's a story for another time. But the reason I bring that up is because recently this summer, and I don't know if anybody else has had a lot of isolation through this pandemic, which for an addict or an alcoholic is very unhealthy. So, uh, but I've been managing through that. But this summer, my cousin, God rest his soul, uh, took his own life. He was in a very, very depressed, bad state and had slew of health problems, ran out of money. But this story isn't about him. It's how I experienced a ton of emotions surrounding that, especially a lot of self guilt because he was local to me. Um, and I mean, life happens, right? But I could have reached out more and tried to help him. Um, sometimes there's nothing we can do. But uh, shortly before that, my father went into the hospital. And uh, needless to say, a ton of emotions. Me trying to stay sober through all this, going, oh my God, this is what it's like to feel when you're sober, like normal people do. I got a sickness up here, I got a disease, but do normal people struggle with emotions and have to process those? And do they have vices? Do they, uh, I don't know, try and bottle their emotions up? I know even before I was a drinker, I would still bottle my emotions. There are two major things that is wrong with the education system and society as we know it, at least primarily in the United States. Um, One is we don't learn how to manage and process our emotions. There's no teaching, there's no assistance through that, through the normal education process. And number two is that it's actually okay to experience and express emotions. Uh, Men are the only acceptable um, emotion for men is anger. That's it. Cool, awesome video to check out that goes much deeper in that is the mask. I think the mask we live in or I live in. I'll find it and put a link in the description because wow, uh, women are only able to experience or excuse me express the more feminine emotions, love, sadness, whatever. Um, that's a sad and incredible destructive way to raise our kids. Um, my kids, I was brought up the same way. So with my kids, I do the same thing. It's like, that's enough crying. You stop that right now. You know, me expressing the anger, which is supposedly okay, and my poor young boys trying to feel. And if we don't feel, if we're not allowed to feel and express these things, how do we process them? Come on. Um, to bring this to around to the point is I wanted to share just some of the things that I've learned. This experience, for one, was just, life, unless we figure out a way to process our emotions, unless we are able to let things go and release the negative emotions, or which could have potentially led to a limiting belief because we weren't able to process that. Um, and a huge avenue for processing these things is through sharing. My wife and I, thank God for her, she's the strong one, but we are trying to do a better job, especially for our kids, but also with each other, um, sharing not only those emotions, but letting our kids express that. Because myself primarily, un, understand through my experiences of not processing my emotions, bottling things up, having years and years of just rage and bottled up disgust and sadness turned into a bitter, unhappy, uh, resentful human being. Very, very, very bad place to be. Uh, I was able to get sober, able to process a great deal of those things. It's a life, never ending journey, and it is about the journey. But happiness is possible. Look at kids. If we don't stop them or like try and control the environment so too much, just the littlest things can bring joy and happiness. And how do we get back to that? After life happens, that joy is still there. It's still possible. God is all around us. Light is all around us. The universe, what we put out of the universe comes back to us. And so the more you dig a hole, the more negativity, the more you're bottling up, the more resentments, you're sending out this negative, what's the word? Just like wavelengths, right? And so you put yourself on that wavelength, what's going to come back? And so I was wondering, why does the misery keep getting worse? And then misery loves company, the family. And so it's interesting to see the differences between my two boys because our oldest is 9 and we didn't really start learning a lot of this and really breaking out of those old shackles, if you will, and old uh, emotions and patterns until he was somewhat developed, 2, 3 years old. And so we're trying to help him and revert and correct a lot of the things that are a result of us, because how much of our behavior and everything is environment. And our youngest, um, he's more open and he's certainly more emotional, and it's a matter of still trying to let that emotion be expressed and feel. So, and talking about how we share and process. And you can't talk to the same person about everything. Sometimes you know you may need to just process or share some things about your spouse. You got to have a support group. You got to have, and this isn't the water cooler talk. I'm talking about, oh, you'll never believe what my wife did the other day, blah, blah, blah. Negativity, right? What are you going to get back? And it's contagious. So some of those things for me are, my AA group, my sponsor, coaches, mentors are a huge one. Um, you know, People that relate, but not turning it into a complaining or victim discussion, right? It's poor me, poor me. It's like, let's talk about things in a healthy manner to figure out how we move forward, move past things, and healthy discussion versus the spreading of negativity. So, anyway, I hope some of this makes sense. Um, I just really have seen the turnaround in myself and a difference in the comfort level of our boys in trying to, got a responsibility. Anybody out there my age or with kids, it's up to us to prepare the next generation to make a better world. And every day we have an opportunity and a lot of different choices. And what are we going to do today to just make one step closer to better, to happiness? Let's all get there. Let's all get there together. Thank you for listening. And any questions, I urge you, if you're struggling, or if you know someone who's struggling, has a problem with addiction or vices, get help, reach out. There are a lot of helpful avenues out there, and from the standpoint of seeing someone suffering, we can't do it for them, but we can offer the hand. I'll share some useful links below. Certainly, Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a lot of Anonymous, depending upon if it's something that you want more surrounded around, drugs that aren't alcohol specific. If you are living with somebody who's struggling with that, there's Al Anon, lots of resources. So check out the description.